All right, let's show you how to use this data now that we have it stored. And actually, it's still in a variable. So even though we've saved it to disk, we can use it without even reading it off the disk. Remember on line 8, we created the map variable. Line 9, we went in and got some document data. So that data is still sitting in that map variable. So let's create a new function here, and let's process the cross-references in here. So we're going to pass in the document object and the map. And what we want to do is we want to test to see if there's a matching marker for each cross-reference. So let's create a variable for the cross-references. And let's say xref equals doc first xref in doc. And then we'll loop while xref object valid is equal to 1. And then we will, now we only have 1 in here, so we can get away with just displaying it. If we had a bunch of them, we might want to write it to the console, but let's just do it here. Let's see if it comes up with something. And then, of course, we want to advance this loop, or else we'll get an endless loop. So we'll say xref next xref in doc. And these are all case sensitive, so you may have to look these up. So let's call this function process xref doc map. So we're calling it here. And let's see what we get. And here's the cross-reference we added, by the way. We just added a simple cross-reference in here. Yeah, so we get it. You know, we get the cross-reference. So we know that this part of the script is working. Now what we want to do is we want to test to see if the marker for this exists in this document. And we can use our data structure to do that. So let's go here. And what we'll do is we'll create a string for the text, for the cross-reference marker, for the cross-reference text, which should match the marker text. And let's call this source text. So for each cross-reference, and we'll display that, by the way. Let's display that so you can see what it is. So we're going to say source text is equal to the cross-reference references xref source text. So that gives us the text, the marker text that this cross-reference is pointing to. So let's run that and see what we get. So yeah, this is pointing to TC customize, and remember we saw that here. If we go up here to the cross-references dialog box and we click go to source, it'll actually highlight that marker up there. And if we go to the marker window, we should see that marker. So there it is right there. Or alternatively, we can Control-Alt-Click on that cross-reference. See, it changes to a little pointy finger, and it'll actually highlight that marker, and we see that it's pointing to it. So now the trick is we want to see if that marker text exists in a particular marker in our XML file. And let's look at our XML file again. And there it is right there. So we should be able to return this marker element. So let's show you how we would do that. So there's various ways to query XML in ExtendScript. It's documented pretty well in the ExtendScript toolkit scripting document. It's actually documented pretty well. But I'll show you an easy way to do it, or an easier way to do it. We can create an XPath statement. Now I'm not going to go into details on what XPath is, but XPath is a way to query XML documents. So we can build an XPath statement, and we can say this. We can say XPath is equal to, and this will be a string, and we'll say // So this means anywhere in the document, and we want to find a marker, and we're going to put in what this is called a predicate. A predicate is basically a condition. So we only want to find a marker if its text attribute is equal to that source text. So we need to do a little trickery here. We need to add that in. So let's do it like this, and I'll show you why we're doing this. And then we need a close bracket and then a semicolon. So we need to put this in here. So let's do it like this. We need to close this, and we need to say plus source text plus the rest of it. And we'll show you what this looks like. So we're going to say alert XPath. So this is the way we're going to look this up inside of the XML structure. So let's go back to our script. Let's run this. And so we're saying inside that map, we want to look for any marker anywhere in the document. That's what the / means. It means anywhere in this XML document where the text attribute is equal to TC customize. All right, so that's what we're doing. And XPath is not super complicated for what we're going to use it for, but we're not going to really get into all the syntax here. But let's use it now. So let's go here. And so we're going to apply that XPath to our cross-reference. So let's create, we're going to create a node element. So we want to see if there's a matching node. So we're going to say node equals map XPath, and then we're going to pass in the XPath statement. So there's an XPath method, and we just use the same name for our XPath variable, and that is going to do the search. And if it returns anything, if it returns a match, it'll be in this node. And the way we test this node is we test the length. And this is actually is a method. It's not a property, it's a method. So if this returns 0, we know that wasn't found. If it returns 1, then we know it was found. It may return more than 1 if we had more than one marker with the same marker text, and that could be possible. And so that might be something you might test for. So let's run this and see what happens. So it returns a 1, and then let's actually display the node. Let's display the node. Now remember, this is actually a node list. This could be 0 or more items. So typically what I'll do is I'll say if node length is greater than 1, or greater than 0 rather, then I'm going to change it to a single node. So I'm going to say node is equal to node 0. So I'm actually going to get the first node that matched, and then we can display its properties, and we can say to XML string. Let's see what it displays. It should display the whole marker element that we captured. Yeah, okay, so there it is right there. Now we can do something else. Now we can say, well, I'm going to change the in use to true because I found it. And so let me do that, and then I'll show you. I'm going to do it. So I'm going to say, okay, I found it. I found what I'm looking for. So I'm going to say node dot @ in use equals, and then I'm going to say true. And this will be a string, so I need to add quotes around it. Now what we'll do is, now if we're going to make changes to this XML object, we're going to have to save it back to disk because it's just going to make changes in memory. So we'll do that. Let's save it to disk again after this script is, after this, all these cross references are checked. If it's not true, then we're just going to leave it alone. If it's not in use, then we're just going to leave it alone because they're already set to false by default. So let's go ahead and run this. And let's check our XML file. And you can see, right, you see how this has changed to true? So we're able to actually manipulate this XML. And again, the beauty of this is if we were using an internal data structure like an object or an array or something like that, it's very hard to visualize. But because I'm using this XML data structure, I'm able to actually visualize this and say, yeah, one of them matched, and there's 2 markers in here that were not matched by an internal cross-reference. Now, that doesn't mean they're not in use, because there might be some other file in the book that's pointing to these. So don't make the mistake of thinking I can delete those two markers, because they might be in use from another document in the book. But this will just kind of get you started on using these data structures.